Welcome to the show. My name is Jeffrey Kerosi for Kerosi TV. Today we are going to look at violence using firearms all over the world, but we will also give local examples from the country and also international examples and how countries are dealing with illegal firearms and terrorist attacks. Many countries have different laws when it comes to ownership of firearms, and we will look at a few recent examples which involve firearms. The first one was a week ago when Al-Shabaab terrorists are based in Somalia, who normally cross the border to Kenya and cause mayhem in those northeastern counties such as Wajir, Garissa, Mandera, and others. So a week ago, 3 non-local teachers were attacked in Wajir, and the teachers and their representatives called for armament of teachers. That is, teachers should be given guns to protect themselves.
For us to bring a lasting solution to these security concerns, we are only proposing that the Minister for Interior organizes and gives teachers guns, because these home guards have their homes, and whenever these people attack, these home guards may not be anywhere. So we have already written to the Interior Minister to give us to give our teachers guns so that they can protect themselves.
Because so Moses, your solution is to arm the teachers, because this could go either way. Do you think the teachers are sufficiently trained to be able to use weapons to defend themselves?
You don't need 2 years to train us to handle a gun. Even members of parliament who came the other day, they own guns, and they are protecting themselves.
But they do go for extensive training. Some would say this would be creating a situation of anarchy.
No, it is not. You know, teachers are few in that region, and these are teachers who are being killed. The security personnel are not anywhere. We hear teachers have been murdered. We have not heard that as many security officers have been killed.
Okay,
so what we are suggesting is that let the Minister for Interior consider training teachers to protect themselves.
Government officials claimed that because they are hiring former military officers who are retired to come on board and protect the people, teachers still insisted that they should be given guns. So gun laws around the world is something which needs to be looked at. In another incident, in Karen, a Levi suburb of Nairobi, a certain homeowner had a kind of a party, and then thieves or robbers came to his house, wielding guns and shooting at people. So fortunately, the homeowner had a gun and at least shoot and killed one of them, which was something which might not have happened. The robbers might have stolen from the homeowner, and also the robbers might have killed some people, which did not happen because the owner of the homestead had a gun, which you can see in the next video. So elsewhere, at the global level, Donald Trump is also drumming or supporting that at least 20% of teachers or teaching staff at schools should be given guns. They should be trained and given guns, and he believes that will be effective in ending attacks. Because in the US they have a problem. It might not be similar to what's happening in Kenya, but in the United States, some of the citizens are attacking, especially schools. So they attack students. So according to Trump, he said that those trained to use firearms could receive extra pay.
An attack has lasted, on average, about 3 minutes. It takes 5 to 8 minutes for responders, for the police to come in. So the attack is over. If you had a teacher who was adept at firearms, they could very well end the attack very quickly. And the good thing about a suggestion like that, and we're going to be looking at it very strongly, and I think a lot of people are going to be opposed to it. I think a lot of people are going to like it. But the good thing is that you'll have a lot of people with that. You know, you can't have 100 security guards in Stoneman Douglas. That's a big school. It's a massive school with a lot of acreage to cover, a lot of floor area. And so that would be certainly a situation that is being discussed a lot by a lot of people. You'd have a lot of people that'd be armed, that'd be ready. They're professionals. They may be Marines that left the Marines, left the Army, left the Air Force, and they're very adept at doing that. You'd have a lot of them, and they'd be spread evenly throughout the school. So the other thing, I really believe that if these cowards knew that the school was, you know, well guarded from the standpoint of having pretty much professionals with great training, I think they wouldn't go into the school to start off with. I think it could very well solve your problem. So we'll be doing the background checks. We'll be doing a lot of different things, but we'll certainly be looking at ideas like that. You know, a lot of people don't understand that airline pilots now, a lot of them carry guns. And I have to say that things have changed a lot. People aren't attacking the way they would routinely attack. And maybe you have the same situation in schools.
So it means if a teacher is trained to use firearms, they would be given some extra money in form of payments for using, or owning those guns and using them to protect their schools. Trump has suggested that some teachers should carry firearms on campus, and they should be paid what he called, and I quote, a little bit of bonus to do so. This came after at least 17 students and staff members were killed last week after some man went to a school and started shooting at the people at the school. That was in Florida. So this idea of harming teachers might work, and also it might work against them. Because if the armed people come and takes away the teachers' weapons, they can use them to kill more people. But again, in some instances, they can help stop killing of students and teaching staff and non-teaching staff who work in schools. So we don't know where this kind of discussion is heading to, because it has been a discussion ongoing for many years. But we hope that a solution will be sought fast. But the idea of arming residents, arming locals is a good idea, because sometimes if the terrorists, for example, in the case of Kenya, if the terrorists are coming for us, if they know that our people are harmed, then automatically they will scale down, or they will be more careful, or they will reduce the number of attacks in the Kenyan side. So sometimes you might see it as necessary to harm our teachers. While I'm not a lawyer, but I was looking online some of the laws which govern the ownership of guns in Kenya. Just curiosity led me to find out what kind of laws do we have in Kenya on use of guns. I came across this law called Firearms Act, Cap 114. It regulates this law as regulations of purchase, possession, manufacture, and sale of firearms and ammunition. Just looking at the table of contents, I could see that it has a penalty for purchasing firearms without firearm certificate, offenses related to specified firearms, grant, that is, of firearm certificate, fees in respect to firearm certificates. Probably we could want to look at these laws and find out what are the qualifications for one to be granted a firearm. And a firearm in this case means guns. So the Firearm Act was assented to in 11th November 1953, and it commenced from 1st of January 1954. This means that these laws, some of them might be outdated, and because they were made before independence to serve the colonial masters, probably. Those are my comments, my opinions. This Firearms Act, Cap 114, is an act of parliament for regulating, licensing, controlling, manufacture, importation, exportation, transportation, sale, repair, storage, possession, and the use of firearms, ammunition, air guns, and destructive devices for connected purposes. So in Kenya, the procedure is that for those who want to hold guns or to own guns, they need a firearm certificate, which is given by licensing officers who are nominated by the police commissioner. Section 6 of the Firearms Act states that in terms of fees, how much do people pay to get the firearm certificates. So Section 6 says there shall be payable on the grant of a firearm certificate and on the renewal of firearm certificate. So you pay both at the time when you are seeking to get a certificate and also at the time when you want to renew the certificate. Provided that there is a firearm certificate is both varied and renewed or replaced at the same time, no fee shall be payable on the variation. If there are changes that should be made on the firearm certificate, then the holders of the firearms are not required to make any payment, but they only pay when they want to be granted that certificate and also when they want to renew. About the police officers are not required by law to apply for firearm certificate. For them, they are allowed to carry guns without that certificate and use those guns. But once they retire, they are not supposed to continue carrying the guns. You can't say, because I'm a former KDF, Kenya Defense Forces personnel, that now I'm still holding my gun. You have to return guns and ammunition at the end of your service as a police officer or an armed officer. Then there is also the issue of storage. That is Section 18, which I'm just opening right now. I write the issue of storage. And this is what it says. Let me open it. It's on page 18 of this Firearms Act of 1950s, just before independence. Yeah, it is there. Storage and safe custody of firearms and ammunition. Every registered firearms dealer shall maintain at each of these places of business a suitable enclosed store for the safe custody of firearms and ammunition in his possession. Each store shall be and be maintained constantly, secure to the satisfaction of the licensing officer, and there shall have only one means of entry thereto, which shall be provided with 2 locks, of which master keys shall be delivered to and retained by the licensing officer. So what basically they are saying in this Section 18 of the Firearms Act is that if you have been granted a firearm certificate, you should have a safe storage, which is very secure. Other people should not be able to infiltrate your storage place for firearms. So up to this point, at least now you have learned a little bit about the Firearms Act of Kenya. Those are the laws which are governing the ownership and the use of firearms in the country. So even ordinary citizens who are not in the armed forces, you can apply to have firearms. But I know you provide reasons as to why. If you want to learn more about use, acquisition, and the grant of firearm certificates, then kindly download the Firearms Act from the website. It is all online. Actually, it's available online. You can download it and read more to understand the use of firearms in this country, Kenya. It is a very important topic which is affecting our fellow citizens, including teachers who have been murdered, killed in cold blood by terrorist groups in northeastern, especially in Wajir and other counties. Up to that point, thank you for listening. See you next time on the internet. Thank you.